Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest oil exporter, has announced a goal of net zero carbon emissions by the year 2060. The energy minister said the environmental targets could be met without adverse social or economic effects. Well, to discuss the Saudi pledge, I'm joined now by Paasha Mahdavi, Assistant Professor of Political Science at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and whose research focuses on energy and global and environmental politics. Dr. Mahdavi, very good to see you. Thank you very much for being with us. What do you make of this promise by Saudi Arabia?
So it will be a major step in the right direction in terms of domestic emissions. Saudi Arabia is itself among the largest CO2 emitters in per capita terms and the 10th largest carbon emitter in global terms. So the announcement could be particularly big for clean energy development within the kingdom and could improve the reliability of clean energy in the form of clean electricity and clean water for Saudi citizens. The reason for that, of course, is that the kingdom right now burns a tremendous amount of fossil fuel for air conditioning and desalination. But it is important to keep in mind this pledge is only about domestic emissions. It does not apply to emissions that others produce when they import and burn Saudi oil, which hinders its impact at the global scale.
Do you think it's achievable for them?
It's hard to say given how few details were offered in the pledge. But if you look at what was said during the announcement and in other venues recently, it is clear that the kingdom is in no way planning to move on from oil. And instead, it aims to remove greenhouse gas emissions from existing production, capturing carbon dioxide emitted at the source, cleaning up methane emissions from leakages. So with that in mind, yes, there is a path for success in decarbonizing oil production towards net zero, as well as greening domestic production of electricity. But it is not going to reach net zero once you factor in emissions from its products sold abroad, which is the vast majority of emissions tied to Saudi Arabia as the world's largest exporter.
It is a big promise, net zero by 2060, but Saudi's neighbour, the UAE, has set a goal of 2050, a whole decade earlier. Should Saudi Arabia be doing more?
Yes, there is this interesting comparison with the UAE announcing 2050, as well as the US, the UK, and the EU. Now, of course, 2060 is what Russia and China have announced as well. So there is a target there in mind with comparison. But, what's so fascinating about 2060 is that some of the rationale is that the energy minister does not believe that the technology will be ready until 2040 to remove carbon dioxide and to achieve some of the decarbonization goals, right? So that's interesting because it's not quite as consistent with what we see right now in terms of the technology that is available. But, make no mistake, this is a initiative that's focused on greening just the supply side of the climate change crisis. Right? We need bolder action on the demand side. Bolder action by countries that consume fossil fuels and, let's not forget, are historically the worst offenders in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. And we need that action fast. Right? Okay. We are running out of time.
We'll leave it there. Dr. Paasha Mahdavi from the University of California, Santa Barbara, thank you very much for making the time for us.
Thank you.